This episode of Imagination Skyway is sponsored by KMV Travel, a boutique travel agency that helps families plan personalized vacations and create unforgettable memories on land and at sea. Not only does KMV Travel specialize in Disney destinations, they also provide travel guidance for most major cruise lines and family theme parks, which means they're your ideal partner whether you're looking to plan that perfect Disney vacation or seeking guidance on venturing somewhere new, offering assistance with booking accommodations, tickets, dining experiences, ground transportation, stroller rentals, you name it. Like many in the industry, their services are 100% complimentary to guests, but where this team really stands out is their unmatched service from start to finish. From hello to see you real soon, KMV Travel provides the resources and support you need to have a stress-free vacation filled with magic, memories, and more. Listeners of the show can learn more and start planning your next vacation by visiting kmvtravel.com/skyway. Welcome aboard Imagination Skyway, your grand podcast tour of the magic. I'm your host, Matthew Krull, and today's episode is part 2 of our 2-part discussion all about Disney Cruise Line. In part 1, we discussed the planning stages of a Disney Cruise Line vacation, including how to start planning, what to pack, and some important considerations before you book your first cruise. If you didn't listen to this episode, I do strongly encourage you to download that conversation on your favorite podcast app so you can learn a bit more about what we recommend. This episode, part 2, is dedicated to discussing the cruise experience itself, including your arrival day, dining, entertainment, excursions, activities, traveling with kids, experiences just for adults, and some concluding thoughts about why you should consider a Disney Cruise Line vacation. If you're on the fence about whether or not to sail with Disney, I hope this convinces you to take the trip. At the end of the show, we'll return to Imagination Central, where I'll share ways in which you can stay connected with Imagination Skyway, how you can discuss this topic with others, and how you can help support and inspire the future of this show. Please remain seated, keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times, and enjoy your Grand Circle tour aboard Imagination Skyway. Okay, now I think we've exhausted everything, but I did want to, all of a sudden the passport just popped in my head as we need to make sure to talk about this.
Yes.
So now we've gotten to the port. What does the arrival process look like getting on the ship that day? And the beginning, I'd say, of like getting onto the ship and then the initial events and happenings once you do get onto the ship.
Yeah. So for Port Canaveral, or anywhere that Disney has their own terminal, so Port Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale now, this will be the way that it runs. If you go to maybe Galveston or you go out of New York's terminal, this may be a little bit different for how they manage it just because they don't have their own terminal set up. I've done it both ways, and all the time Disney handles it really well. It's just something to be aware of when we talk about it. So for a terminal where Disney has their own terminal, you'll likely, if you're on the bus, you're basically going to get dropped off at the front. And once it's your arrival time, you'll be able to go in and you'll stand in a line to show your passport and show your check-in paperwork. So that 30 days or a little bit earlier than that, depending if you're a Castaway member. Like I mentioned, you'll do that online check-in. At that time, you're going to get a form that has a QR code on it. You can show it on your phone. You can print it out and bring it. But that's going to be like your check-in key basically that you're going to use. So you'll have that along with your passport and you'll show that to them. They'll confirm that everything looks okay. And then you'll be able to go through security. So you will go through a security area, kind of like when, we're going through TSA. That is where if you do have luggage that's larger, you do need to drop that luggage off prior to going through this point. So if you didn't come on the bus, if you drove in, there'll be porters there at the drop-off area where you can give your luggage to them and they'll take it on they'll give it to Disney for you. And then you'll go through that security. They'll call your number to your boarding number, and then you'll go ahead and get on the ship. So while that's all kind of happening, your luggage is being brought onto the ship for you and placed in front of your stateroom. Staterooms aren't going to open until around 2:00. So during that time, you might be thinking, what am I going to do now? Everything else is open. So you can go grab food at Cabanas or Marsley Market. Those are the buffet locations on the ships. You can hit the pool if you want to. I always recommend to pack kind of like an embarkation day bag. So have those medications in there, anything that if you lost, you could not replace, and then put in, your pool necessities. So your swimsuit, things like that you might need, and a change of clothes if you want that. But then your bags and your will be at your stateroom before 5:00, usually they say.
Which is great. That's not that long at all, especially considering generally it's not that much longer after you might be getting onto the ship as well. You talked about just now, or you mentioned dining, and this prompted another question. So you mentioned at the beginning, we're bouncing around different subjects, but then we're diving into them. So this one has to do with what's included and what isn't included. So you get onto the ship and you hear a lot of Disney cruises, a lot of cruises, sorry, even beyond Disney cruises, that they are all inclusive, everything's included. It's not 100% true. You probably could go and not spend anything else on the ship unless you're going to buy all that awesome merchandise. But if, other than the merchandise, that's the obvious thing. What is included on a Disney cruise? And then what are some of the extras or things that people might not be thinking about that are going to be additional charges on the ship?
Yeah, that's a really great question and something to make sure you know before you do book. Disney is nice. A lot of the things that you're going to need are going to be included. So your main dining, which is going to be your 3 dining locations for dinner, will be included. That's no additional cost. Room service is included, which is nice. That's a bit different from other cruise lines. Yeah, that is
very different from a hotel. It's like the most expensive option at a hotel.
Yeah, that is one of my husband and I favorite thing to do is to order room service and watch a Disney movie. I know, I guess we're just getting old, but it's great. You got to take advantage of it. So that's included. Like I said before, the soft drinks, hot tea, and coffee will also be included. All of your entertainment, all your activities on the ship. There are some activities that you will pay more for, but those are going to be like the specialty activities. So if you want to do the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique for your child, that will be an additional cost. Alcohol is not included. There is not a drink package on Disney Cruise Line, so that's something a little bit different than other cruise lines. But you do have, your key that you'll have, or your Disney band that you can use too, and you'll just tap that, or give them your key, and it will go onto your charges for the day. Additional is specialty dining. So there's different specialty dining locations on different ships. These are going to be adult-only locations. So Palo is on every ship. It's a steakhouse, more like Italian food kind of theming there. And then there's also Ashante, which is on the Wish. Remy, which is going to be on the Dream and Fantasy, I believe, too. So those are going to be additional costs. And if they're interested in anything that's an additional cost, that's something like an activity or dining, you can likely know that you're going to have to make a reservation for that in advance. So at that time when your excursions open, you'll also be making those reservations for that too.
Yeah, and I could say that the cost of those is not quite the full price you would think of from what I've seen. So it's more like an upgrade charge as opposed to a full. You're not going to be paying for the full meal. It's almost as if part of it is included and you're just paying for that upgrade to that premium dining experience, which is something worth noting. And then what about gratuity?
So gratuity you can prepay for, or you can decide that you want to do that when you get onto the ship, but it won't be included in that base cruise fare for you. So all your taxes and port fees are included, but gratuity would be separate. I recommend doing the prepaid gratuities just so you don't have to think about it at the end of the trip. And you can always, give a little extra. I know that's what we do sometimes when cast members go above and beyond on our, serving team or whatever it may be. We'll just make sure that we have some cash with us that we can give them too.
Right. And I thought that was very cool that you could sort of prepay gratuity as well. When I was, again, I have a lot of research from Joanna going through this process. So it was interesting to see some of the differences from a Disney Cruise Line vacation. And then, of course, excursions and things like that off the ship are also going to be extra. So, and we didn't talk about this, but about how far in advance should you book those excursion experiences, or how far can you for those off-ship experiences with Disney Cruise, or not with Disney Cruise?
Yeah, that's a good question. So excursions and any of those onboard activities are going to be 90 days in advance for first-time cruisers. And then if you're a Castaway Club member, you'll have additional time to book that. So it could be, you're booking it at 100 days out or whatever it may be. Basically, you just get a little bit of extra time to get those bookings. And if you are going to do excursions on your own, I would just recommend that you are very, very careful about obviously who you're booking with, but then that they're aware of the time that the ship is leaving. The nice thing about doing a Disney excursion is if for some reason your excursion gets held up and you can't get back to the ship in time for that disembarkation, when they're leaving, they will make sure that you get to your next port. So that may be that they're, flying you to that next port, but they will make sure that they get you there. If you're on your own excursion and you do not get back on the ship, you don't get on the ship. And that's kind of it. You have to figure out your own way from there. So again, as a nervous person,
I would only go through Disney.
Everyone do it. Yes,
the same way.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just makes so much more sense. There have been a few questions come up. We are talking about dining, so I promise we'll actually just ask about this now. I did write it down, but let's surface this up because it's been coming up a few times and it is really important. This came from folks like Holiday with Hannah B and Robin Allison, are all asking about folks with or passengers with food sensitivities or allergies and how Disney accommodates that on Disney Cruise Line. And I would also ask, when in the process, is that something that you can indicate ahead of time? Is that something that you should mention when you go to each location? If it's a buffet style location or sort of grab and go, how does Disney mark that? Like, what are some of the things that someone with a food sensitivity or intolerance or restriction or allergy should be thinking about in the planning process and in the ship experience?
Yeah. So I've dealt with this not firsthand, but my sister has celiac, so she cannot have gluten. She can't have cross-contamination, anything like that. So we have to be very, very careful with it. The Disney Cruise Line is one of the places, other than other Disney destinations, where she feels very comfortable going because of the way that they deal with it. So basically, once you've booked your cruise, you're able to go on to your Navigator app or on the Disney Cruise Line website, sign into your account, and there will be an area where you can notate any allergies, special dining requests, anything like that you need to do. So we'll always do that. For my clients, I always make sure that I do call in too, just to make sure that it is noted on there. Because again, nervous traveler, I just want to make sure that that's not something that people need to worry about. And you can always confirm that that's correct, because when you get onto the ship and your serving team comes to you the first night, they should make sure that they've confirmed that with you, who is going to have that allergy. It will be noted on your reservation, but just confirm it with it. I know I always do, to make sure that we have that set. So that's for main dining. Or if you go to Palo or you go to Ashante, Remy's, that will follow you throughout. So you shouldn't have to worry about that. They should provide you with a menu that has whatever those allowable meals will be for you. If you go to a buffet or you go to any of those quick service locations that are on the pool deck, you'll just need to let them know that you have an allergy, and they'll send a manager out. And the manager will walk through with you. They'll have a notepad that allows them to mark down what is gluten-free or dairy-free. And then they'll go back with that and they'll have that prepared separately, so it's not prepared with everyone else's food, and then they'll bring it out to you so that you know that there's no cross contamination there. So it's a really nice way to do it. Same thing with room service. If you call in, they should be on your reservation, but just notate that you have that allergy or whatever it is that you need to have the accommodation for.
Yeah, that's really one of the things that's wonderful about Disney. I know folks with sensitivities, allergies, and they never are worried about going to Disney. And I know some people on the extreme ends of this too, they always feel so comfortable going to Disney because of how prepared they are for this. And it's great that whether it's through the pre-arrival process or being on the ship, that everybody's prepared. And it's just goes to show how Disney is always accommodating to anyone, depending on what your dietary needs are. So let's tap into rotational dining. We talked about this briefly in the beginning, that this was something that Disney made popular. And I know other cruises have sort of followed suit with this, but this was really I don't know for sure if like Disney Cruise was the first cruise to ever do this, but they were the ones that really made this popular. And it's a unique way of thinking about dining, and it incorporates Mike from 80/20 Records, Mike, my cousin, because he's the one I'm thinking of. He's got a lot of allergies and sensitivities. So hey, Mike, the rotational dining is you rotate dining and entertainment with those wonderful Broadway style shows. So how does that work? And is it pre-assigned? Can you pick like what dining time you prefer? How does that all work?
So you're going to have two different options when you book your cruise, and you should have two different options. But I will say that there's our main dining that's going to be 5:45, and then there's your second seating, which is 8:15. Main dining is always the first one to go because it's kind of more the traditional time of dinner. If you have families with young children, they're probably going to pick that main dining. So when I say you could go to book your cruise if you're booking it a little bit later on, and there's only that second seating that's available. If that does happen for some reason and you really want that main dining, there is a wait list that you can get put on. Same thing, you can do that through the app or through the website, or just reach out to your travel advisor and they can do that for you. With those different dining times, once you've had that selected, like you said, Matt, it's kind of going to be opposite of when your entertainment is. So each night you're going to be in a different dining location. So there's 3 different main dining rooms on each of the Disney Cruise Line ships. So you'll start in one and then you'll go to the next one, and you'll rotate. So if you're in a 7-night cruise, you'll do them 2 times and one of them you'll do 3 times. So you kind of move around in that way. Your servers will move with you, which is so nice. So if you are someone who has an allergy, I think this is one of the best parts of this, is you have the same waiter. So you don't need to explain to somebody, 4 nights in a row what this allergy is or things like that. These waiters become like such a huge part of your experience, and they know, you'll come your second night and they'll have your ginger ale waiting there for you. And they always knew every single night that I wanted my tea after. So it's just, they are truly part of that experience in such a special way. And these people become your friends, I swear. I mean, I can't even explain how many of them we know, and we still talk about and request when we go on cruises. But after your dinner or before your dinner, depending on what time you have, you'll go to that entertainment. And it's kind of nice because it's a very community driven way that they do this, because everybody kind of comes together at that point of the cruise. So you don't feel isolated if you're cruising alone or anything like that, because you're all kind of together at that point. You all have that dining and then you go to the entertainment or vice versa.
I'm smiling when you're talking about the servers, because that reminded me that Joanna and Maggie had that experience with one of their servers, Rocky, on the Disney Fantasy, who drew a picture for Maggie on, I don't know what day it was, but it was a 7-night, so they got to know Rocky very well. And by the last day, apparently Maggie was asking Rocky directly his name for ice cream. So she knew that Rocky had the ability to bring ice cream to the table, and by the last night would be saying like, Rocky ice cream. So he'd bring that over. She's a year and a half old at the time, so she got the routine down and knew that was the person who could bring her what she wanted. So
she was hustling.
Yeah, exactly. But they really went above and beyond with her, so it was great. Um, the other thing I'll mention about dining is you mentioned Remy's. Joanna mentioned to me that she adored Remy's, that it was some of the best food she's ever had. And I think I've heard about a lot of Disney cruise dining experiences that premium add-on that upgrade to some of those reserved places that are typically adult only. That was a time that Maggie was in the wasn't the it was the kids club. So that was one of those experiences, but she said the food was just incredible. Do you have a favorite restaurant on one of the ships?
Oh, I loved Remy's, and I loved Ashante on the Wish. We did they're prefixed menus. You can do a la carte, but I would recommend doing the prefixed. On Ashante, there's an option where it's just basically the chef selects it, and they'll bring out these different courses to you, and you can do a wine pairing with the sommelier comes out to your table and will show you. It's this whole experience. And I have to say, going to Ashante with my sister, who, like I said, has to eat gluten-free, she says it's the hands down best experience she has ever had for dining, because there was nothing where usually it's like, okay, you're going to get a salad because you're gluten free
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. And when we looked at our plates, they were able to create it in a way where, even though hers was gluten free, she wasn't missing out on any of the aspects of it. So it was just a very special moment when you're traveling with someone who does have to be so aware of that, and they miss out on different things because of it. So I agree. I would highly recommend doing those additional experiences.
Yeah, definitely worth thinking about. The Broadway style shows, how are those? I know they're amazing, but do you have any favorites or things that people should be aware of when it comes to the shows?
Yep. So I will say, I, like you, Matt, am from the Northeast. So I was very, very lucky to get to go see Broadway shows. And I probably have, a little bit of snobbery about theater because I was in the arts. And so, I have high expectations, and these shows absolutely exceed them. I would recommend make sure that you make the time to go to the shows. Like I said, they will be done two times each night. If you're on a 7-night cruise, there's going to be other entertainment that's kind of mixed in. Same if you're on a 4-night cruise. So there'll be 3 different shows that are kind of the main stage shows on each of the cruises. But take advantage of these. Go make sure that you get there about 10 minutes early to get a seat. If you do want a specific seat, like you want to be the 4th row back in the middle, make sure you get there a little bit earlier. But the shows are great. They're very family friendly, but I'll say, going as my husband and I go by ourselves, we don't have children. We really enjoy it. My husband really enjoys it. And the Beauty and the Beast show on the Dream was probably one of the best shows that I have ever seen. That's just exceptional talent that is on the cruise lines.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I heard incredible things about the shows, so I'm not surprised. Characters, we talked about that earlier. I know there are characters on the ship, so how does that happen? Where can you meet the characters? I know Castaway Key, there are sometimes some characters that you can meet there as well, but on the ship, are there specific times that the characters come out? How does it work when it comes to meeting the characters? I know it's a little more Disneyland-esque than Walt Disney World, where it's not you're not queuing up in a formal queue space like Walt Disney World. But talk to me a little bit about the characters on the ships.
So there's going to be, when you get onto the cruise ship, you'll have the cruise navigator app from the time that you book your cruise, and it's going to look a little different once you get onto the cruise ship. So you'll see that you'll have a series of different events for each day. Some of those events on there are going to be characters. So there'll be planned character meet and greets where you'll see, Pluto is going to be in the atrium at this time. So you'll see people will go there. There will be lines for them, but they're not going to be exceptionally long lines. Usually before dining times, they'll be out in the atrium. So you'll have characters there that you can go see, but then you will see, like you're saying, the Disneyland type of way where they're just kind of there at some point. You'll just see Goofy walking around the pool deck, and you can just kind of go up and get a picture. None of this is, needed. You don't need a reservation for any of this or anything like that. The one character experience that you do need a reservation for is the Princess Gathering. So this is going to be a gathering of 4 different princesses that takes place in the atrium. And there's no cost for this, but they require reservations just to kind of manage the crowds. So 30 days out. So that's going to be for our first-time cruisers when you're doing your onboard, your online check-in. That's also when this reservation will open, so you can go on and grab a reservation. Like I said, there's no cost associated with it or anything like that. That's just something else that you can do.
Yeah, Maggie, of course, had a wonderful time with the characters. I've got lots of videos. I know you've all seen on social media here, plenty of videos of Maggie meeting characters. It was a very similar experience, and in some ways, even more magical. On Disney Cruise Line, Captain Mickey walked her around the ship at one point. She just really had such an amazing time meeting the characters there. And that also prompted a question that I didn't think about until just now. There are parties on this ship too, and the characters make appearances at those parties. I know there's a sail away party, which seems like it's just like so much fun, and pirate nights, all kinds of special events. So what can guests expect at those parties, at those experiences?
Yeah, so I do want to say a member of the Kay Connors, Adele, I'm going to say it incorrectly. She made a really good point to Oh, yeah. Christina. Okay. Yeah. Oh, good. Christina made a really good point to make sure that you get that reservation for the Royal Princess Gathering before you do your online check-in. I would say if your online check-in is very important that you get the first arrival time, then maybe you decide to do that online check-in first, but totally agree with her. Make sure you go ahead and grab that reservation first if that's important to you, because it will go fast. If you're not able to get a time, when you do get onto the ship, go to guest services, and there is a wait list that you can join. So that's just going back off of that. But sail away parties, there's the sail away party, and then sometimes there's some other parties throughout. There's a pirate night on some of the cruises. So you can go there and you'll see some of the characters. It's going to be on the deck. There's also nights where they do fireworks at sea, which Disney is the first to do fireworks at sea. And they're actually, the fireworks become fish food, which I thought that was a joke when I first heard it, but it's not. It's actually real. So cool. They make it safe. Yeah, they make it safe for the sea. So those are other ways that you can see the characters. There's also going to be some of the dining experiences where characters are part of it. So Arendelle, on the Wish, there'll be the whole kind of dining experience has Olaf that comes out, or Elsa and Anna and Kristoff. On the Magic, you have Tangled. So there's going to be Rapunzel's royal dining experience, so you're able to see her. Tiana on the Wonder. There's all different ones like this. So there's lots of experience to see characters, and that's when I say if someone's not really into Disney, maybe those are the dining experiences that I would say, grab something on the pool deck or grab room service or something that night.
Good advice. And then other than the dining, the Broadway style shows, the characters, what other activities can people enjoy on the ship? Talk a little bit about the Kids Club. I think that part is obvious. I've seen what the Kids Club looks like. I know the first day you can, as an adult, as a parent, go and tour those, but then afterwards, no parents allowed. So it's just for the kids to enjoy. What other activities can families, kids, or adults only enjoy on a Disney cruise?
Yeah. So what's nice with Disney Cruise is a lot of this is going to be included in the cost of your cruise. So the kids clubs are all included in the cost of your cruise, other than the nursery. So for the younger kids,
the nursery was extra for Maggie.
Yeah, but pretty nominal fee, right, Matt? It's not it
was not
fee.
Bad at all. No.
Yeah,
I don't remember the exact amount, but it was cheaper than daycare. I'll put it to you that way.
Yes,
it was not.
Yes, definitely.
It was pretty affordable, pretty on the low end, pretty much on the low end, especially for what you're getting with the Disney cast member service. It was not a problem at all.
Yeah, exactly. So
Christina says nine an
that's
hour. Thank you, Christina. $9 an
there
hour.
we go. We're good. Yeah. I was going to say, I thought it was $10 an hour, but yes, 9 sounds correct. So that's all included. And then these activities that are, throughout the day. So you have your characters, like I said, the meet and greets, but then you also have trivia, which is one of my favorite things on a cruise ship. There's bingo. Bingo will be an additional cost because you're buying in to play bingo. But majority of them are going to be, just free included in the cost of your cruise. There's tours of the cruise that you can do. There's one of my favorite things is funnel vision. So the pool area, there's always going to be a Disney movie that's playing on this big, huge screen where you can be in the pool and watch Disney movies. There's sports activities on some of the cruise ships. So on the Dream class, so the Dream and the Fantasy, there's a mini golf area where you can just go up and play mini golf. There's some sports simulators. There's fitness centers. There's just a ton that you can do. But also for our adults, there are some additional paid activities that you can do, which we love doing these beverage tastings. So they'll go through and they'll do mojito making or a wine tasting, beer tasting, and it will be led by one of the members of the bar staff. And they'll go through and they'll, pick out maybe 6 or, 7 different types of a drink, show you how to make that drink, or they'll talk about the history of the drink. We've had some of the best experiences with these cast members and this experience that they've been able to share, because you just get to know these cast members and how much, they love what they're doing, but they're getting to share about this wine because you're talking to a sommelier who is sharing it. So definitely check that out. When you go onto the Disney Cruise website or on that app, if you go to onboard activities, you'll be able to see what's listed there and make those reservations. Again, these are going to be the same as your excursions. It's 90 days out for first-time cruisers, and then a little bit longer out for any of the Castaway Club members.
That is, there's so much that I know that goes that you could do on a ship, and like I said, whether you're an adult or a kid or a family, like there's so many things you could do together, or adults only or kids only. And there are days that obviously the ship docks in port. If you don't want to go to the port, is there, like, can you stay on the ship, and what can those days be like if you do stay on the ship while everybody else leaves for the day?
Yeah, I bet you're going to tell me that Joanna took advantage of this.
Joanna didn't leave the ship except for Castaway Key.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it is. She probably learned the same thing. It's one of the best times to stay on the ship. If you just want to explore the ship, it becomes very quiet. There's going to be less activities that are taking place during the day, in terms of like the held activities that the entertainment team might be having. So like the trivia or game show type things. Those will kind of start later on in the day, but during the day, that's a great way to experience some of the areas that maybe get a little bit more crowded. So if you really want to check out the Aqua Mouse water slide, that's when to do it. You want to hit the pool, maybe go to the spa, which is an additional cost, but you can do that. Go to the movie theater that they have on board. All of those things are still going to be available to you, as well as dining is still going to be available. So each day there will be a main dining location that will be open for breakfast and for lunch. So you can decide that you want to go to the buffet at Marceline Market or Cabanas to get your food, or you could say, I want to have a sit down lunch today. I'm going to go over to Lumiere's or whatever may be open that day for that dining. So all of that will still be available to you on those port days, even if you decide not to get off the ship.
Yeah, Joanna had a great time on those days. It was very quiet. I know she said that certain things were closed, so she couldn't exactly do everything, but she definitely filled that time, and the cruise ship was really quiet. And I think that there were some character interactions that she had during those, port days, and she just, Maggie had an amazing time. And I have videos of Maggie just like running around the main part of the ship endlessly. So Joanna did a lot of walking around the ship following Maggie, but she got her energy out. And Joanna said to me she felt completely safe. There was nowhere for her to go. It was just sort of like running around the hallways of the hotel, just going crazy, having a great time, looking out at the portholes and looking out at the port. So it was a really fun time when they were at port. But then, of course, really enjoyable at sea when everybody was there and everyone was together and all enjoying those parties and activities and everything else that came with that. We're talking a little bit about kids. a lot about kids. So one thing that I do want to ask is about age limits. And this obviously, there's no cap, like there's no such thing as being too old to go on a Disney cruise, but is there a base where Disney says, like, oh, you're 1 day old, so you shouldn't be bringing a 1 day old onto a Disney ship anyway, but or any ship for that matter. But what is there a minimum age allowed on a Disney cruise?
Yeah, so 6 months old is going to be the cutoff. So you have to be that old in order to be on a cruise. And then the other cutoff is going to be if you're pregnant. There is going to be a kind of a maximum weeks that you're able to be pregnant to be on a cruise, and that's just for safety. So I believe it's 24 weeks that they have that marked at. So they will ask you that during your health pre-screening, and then you can just select that. And if that comes up and something happens where you have a cruise planned, you can just reach out to your travel advisor or reach out to Disney, and they can help you kind of figure out what next steps might be for that.
That's good to know too. And Christina says 1 year for longer sailings like transatlantic. Christina, thank you for helping fill in the gaps. Like I said, Christina has done a lot of cruising with Disney Cruise Line. She's also my go-to for a lot of questions. Travel agent side is you, Kelly, for kids a lot. It's often Christina because she's done it with her kids a number of times.
Yeah.
So I talked about the fact that I get seasick, and I do know I get seasick. It's not like I've never been on a boat. I know that large ships are quite different than small boats, and I've been on a little bit of both, and I definitely get the difference because a car ferry, I'm gonna feel it a little less than if I'm on a little fishing boat in the which did unfortunately happen one time, not by choice, in St. John, one of the most nauseating 45 minutes of my life. So for someone who, a couple of questions here. And there were some follow-up questions that came up in this category too. But let's start with, let's say you're the type of person who doesn't get seasick. And you mentioned that you bring things just in case. What happens if you do get seasick in the middle? Like you're not someone who ever gets seasick. This happened to my cousin too. He went on a cruise. It wasn't a Disney cruise, but he went on a cruise. He never gets, like, he'll do Mission Space. It doesn't, like, nothing bothers him. And I mean orange, like Mission Space, orange, Star Tours, you name it, he does it. He got seasick one day. So it can happen. So if you do get seasick, what can you do? Any advice? You mentioned the sort of the medics on board, but anything else you can bring up that will help somebody prepare for that or, overcome that if it does happen?
Yeah. So if you're not able to get down to the health center, sometimes it kind of just comes on and you're like, I can go down to the health center, grab some Dramamine from them, and maybe just hang at my room, and that will help. You can always call down there as well, and they'll be able to send somebody up for you. There's, one of, like, the tricks that people say, and they say this is kind of why kids don't get seasick as much, is you need to look out to the horizon. So you need to basically see where the sky is meeting the water there. And that should help you to kind of reset, because you're resetting your equilibrium. But another thing that Disney does do that's really nice is on all of their menus for their main dining locations, they're going to have a lighter side area, and that's going to be very basic meals. So, you might get on and you might feel a little seasick. And a lot of times at dinner is when you'll start to feel the boat moving, because that's when you're leaving from the dock or from the port that you were at. So you might say, I don't know if I can do this steak right now. But there'll be things like, just chicken with some vegetables and mashed potatoes. So they'll always have things like that. But the other thing I would say is just make sure that you're always drinking a lot of liquids too. And it should be like water. Don't be drinking, a lot of beer, because that's going to definitely help you to make sure you're keeping that, steady footing when you're there. And just, you really should be packing things, even if you don't think that you're going to get seasick, because you never know when it's going to hit you. And you just want to be prepared for things. And it's, just kind of have your survival kit together.
Yeah. And I will say it's not hopeless if you are someone who gets seasick routinely. I have family members who will not go on a ship, will not go on a boat, definitely don't ride roller coasters, nothing like that. And they'll talk to their doctor ahead of time and generally get a scopolamine patch or some medication to prevent seasickness before it even happens. And they're sometimes the ones who are feeling the best when the ship is a little rocky and everyone else is in their stateroom laying down and trying to just, sleep it off. That obviously there's reasons why I haven't done that. But it is an option if you are wanting to try a cruise. And I do know that it's been something that people have found a lot of success with. So there are certainly things you can look into. And P. Perella did ask, and I kind of already know the answer to this question, but does the size of the ship impact this? And the answer is yes, generally. But Disney cruise ships, they're all large. If you compare them, if you're looking at comparing it to, again, like a sailing boat, of course, Disney cruise lines are going to be larger. But I think the real question here is the Disney cruises are different sizes in the large space of, we're talking about a ship. These are all large. But they have, some are larger than others. The Wish is the largest one. So are you going to feel it less on the Wish than you will on the Magic, or are they both a very similar size, so it doesn't really matter one way or the other?
Yeah, you're definitely going to feel it a lot more on the Magic than you would on the Wish, because of size, of course, but then also just the fact that technology has changed a lot since 1998, when the Magic came out. So the stabilizers that they have in the Wish are really incredible. It's just, you go on the Wish and you hardly feel that movement, for someone who doesn't have motion sickness. So I don't mean that as, I'm not suggesting that you should, Matt.
No, I know.
In comparison, in comparison to what you feel on the Magic, where you really can feel that movement sometimes, those stabilizers are just incredible. So I'd say if you are someone who kind of, you want to try it, but you are a little nervous about it, do a 3-night out of Port Canaveral on the Wish, so you're at the most recent technology for those stabilizers.
Yeah, that'll be the test for anyone who's curious. And again, throwback to my episode with Theron Skis, it's exactly what he mentioned as well, that the Wish was made with the most advanced stabilizers, and I'm sure they're going to get even better as time goes on. And maybe one day they will reach a point with cruise ships where, short of a hurricane, you will not feel anything. And then, sure, I will step aboard that ship if they can guarantee that for me. Bring some Bonine with me just in case. That's my usual motion sickness pill of choice, having tried a few things. Other than people who get seasick, other than people who are too young, or talked about expectant mothers being sort of in late pregnancy, which even if that wasn't a rule, I probably wouldn't. Just, you don't want to be in the middle of the ocean and something happened late in the pregnancy. Other than those cases, is there anyone who might not be a good fit for a Disney cruise? Doesn't have to be a yes.
You have to. Yeah, I think you'd have to think about, I don't want to say no, because there's probably people that it wouldn't be good for. I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But people that I would say you might need to look for special accommodations if there's any mobility issues, anything like that. Just, those are all things to make sure that Disney's aware of before you get on the ship. If you have, there's certain equipment that needs purified water, things like that. That's stuff that Disney can provide for you, but you just need to make sure that you're notating that on that reservation once you do make your reservation in the app there, so that they're aware of that. And again, working through a travel advisor with that is something that I definitely recommend, just because we've worked through those experiences, so we kind of know what the steps are that we need to take in order to get those things set up. So I wouldn't say there's no one that it might not be good for, but there just might be certain things, certain extra steps that you may need to take to make sure that it's the best experience for you.
Yeah, and mobility questions did come up, so thank you for addressing that as well. I'm going to just ask a couple more questions and then see, there were some questions sent in from listeners that were kind of quick that I want to get to, and then any others that those watching might want to ask. So a couple of wrap-up ones. Incentivizing people to take more Disney cruises. You've been talking a little bit about the Castaway membership level and all different types of perks. I know that the more you sail, the more Disney rewards you. So can you talk a little bit about that system? It's quite different. I wish Walt Disney World had that. I would be at the highest level. But what membership or what incentives do they offer for people to continue to sail with Disney Cruise Line?
So there'll be different levels depending on how many cruises you take. So you'll start off once you've taken, your first cruise. Once you get on that second cruise, you are now officially a member of the Castaway Club. So welcome to the club. It's a great place to be. We have our own special lines when we go to check in. So silver and gold will have a special line. Platinum and now pearl has been added as the top level. So you'll have a special line that you're able to go into. There'll be gifts that you have when you get into your cruise, into your stateroom. But I think that one of the biggest perks is that when new itineraries are released, Castaway Club members are able to get a bit of a leg up in terms of booking that. So they'll have additional days ahead of the general public where they'll be able to make those reservations. So if you have a concierge level room that you really want to get, or there's a very specific itinerary, like, when we have our inaugural sailings of the Treasure, you're getting that opportunity to kind of get in there before other people. You get additional days to book your excursions, your onboard activities, to do your online check-in. So where that kind of becomes nice to have is if you don't want to, you need a specific time for port arrival, you're likely able to get that if you're a platinum Pearl member. So there's a lot of different benefits that come with that. And Disney did just put in place where you need to have sailed within the last 5 years to kind of keep that status. So that's just something to be aware of if you're thinking, well, I sailed when I was 10, so I have that castaway status. Be sure that that actually is still in place if you haven't sailed within that time frame.
Good to know. And it's good to see that Disney offers this. It's because I know that there are people in those upper tiers who love to continue to sail with Disney, and this just keeps them coming back as another incentive to do so. I'm going to save my last question for later. For now, I do want to see if there were any other sort of final questions as people are typing them on Instagram Live. One great question that came up was about a family of 4. You think about the traditional cruise ships have very small rooms, and Disney cruise ships have slightly larger staterooms than the average stateroom. They're not going to be, it's not going to be as the same as stepping into a hotel room at Disney's Polynesian Resort. Even it's going to be, I know, not even the same as like Disney's Valley Resort or Disney's All-Star Resort, but can a family of 4 sleep in one room? And I'm talking about standard rooms, not the upper concierge level rooms. What is the bed situation like in most staterooms?
Absolutely. So the staterooms you will see, like you said, Matt, they are going to be a little bit larger than a traditional cruise stateroom that you'll see. One of the other pieces that will really stand out if you have sailed on other ships is the bathroom situation on Disney ships. There's certain staterooms that are going to have basically a breakaway. So you'll have your toilet is going to be in one room, and then there's going to be a separate area for your shower, which may seem like a very little thing, but it gives you more room. And when you have 4 people that are staying in a stateroom, that's so nice to have 2 different areas to kind of get ready and things like that. The setup if you have 4 people in a stateroom is going to be, you'll have a queen bed. So you'll have 2 people there. And then there'll be a couch that's going to pull down, which will be like a twin size couch. And then there's a pull down that basically comes from up in the ceiling. So it's an upper berth pull down that will come down. So you'll have that as well. There are other staterooms that will accommodate up to 5 guests. And those will be in your standard rooms. They'll be in your family size rooms, I should say. Your standard rooms will be the 3 to 4. And then your family size rooms will allow you to have up to 5. If you have 6 guests, you kind of have different ways that you can do that. So you could do adjoining rooms, which this is where it comes in think that it's really nice that you can select your rooms that you'd like, because you can say, I want to be on deck 7 and I want these 2 rooms. I can see from the map that they're adjoining. So I know that I have this, and now I have room for 8 people to be in these 2 rooms. But there are some concierge level rooms that will accommodate 6 to 8 guests. They're few and far between. I'll say they're not on every ship, but it's something to talk about with your travel advisor or with Disney Cruise Line if you do have that number of people, to see which is going to be the best option for you financially.
Yeah, great advice. And I had seen photos, videos of the rooms and everything, and it did look to be, again, spacious enough that a family of 4 could enjoy or be able to comfortably sleep in those rooms. And certainly larger families probably want to go for something with a veranda or a larger stateroom, just to get yourself even extra space if you can do that. Last question. This is probably the longest Instagram live I've done. And those listening, you already know this is a 2-part podcast episode, which I had intended or thought would be appropriate, just because there is so much to discuss and so much to absorb in one episode. This is just way too much to wrap your head around. So part 1 being the planning process, part 2 being the experience on the ship. What is the first step for someone who is now convinced that they should sail with Disney? I mean, the obvious answer is to contact you, but what are some of the things that they should prepare for in that conversation or start thinking about in booking a first Disney cruise?
Yeah. So I would, I think I said it at the top of our episode here, go on to the Disney Cruise Line website and just start playing around, seeing what's out there in terms of itineraries, dates, things like that. Make sure that your passport is, where it needs to be, that you have everything set there, because you'll need to have that in order to book anything. But really just go in and start to learn a little bit more about it. There's a lot of great resources out there. I think hopefully this will be a great resource for people, this episode, but be sure that you're following, travel advisors like myself, that we're posting information that can be helpful as you're starting to plan. There's information that I have available about what's the timeline for planning. So when should you start looking at your cruise? What's the next step? Kind of what's your checklist for planning a cruise line vacation? But like I said, first step is to figure out what ship you want to do, what itinerary it is, and kind of just narrow down that information and make sure you have that passport set up.
Great. And where can people go to find you?
So we are at kmvtravel.com, our website. You can go there if you have, you'd like to fill out a request to speak with one of us. You can do that there. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Kelly's Magical Vacations. You can always DM me there with questions too, or if you're not sure, you just aren't sure if this is going to be the right trip for you or not, DM me. We can set up a time to speak, or we can just talk like that. And I'm also on Facebook at KMV Travel.
Fantastic. Well, Kelly, thank you for spending so much time. Again, I asked the questions. I didn't provide a lot of the answers because I'm the novice here. You certainly have proved yourself as the expert. I will give a special shout out to Christina too. Thank you for helping to address. You were like our honorary host here, addressing comments as people were typing them in, and we were not able to keep up with everybody. So thanks to you, Christina, as well. But Kelly, thanks for joining me. And I hope all of you watching Instagram Live enjoyed this. Hope those of you listening to the podcast got a lot of great information out of it as well. But I hope to see all of you on a Disney cruise sometime soon. I will be waving from land most likely, but I hope to see all of you on a Disney Cruise Line soon. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Welcome back to Imagination Central. As you disembark, please remember to remain fully seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop. Then gather your belongings and watch your head and step as you exit. After you exit the episode, I encourage you to engage with the show by following Imagination Skyway on your favorite social media app. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to share it with anyone who might enjoy our discussion today. And better yet, leave us a rating or review in your favorite podcast app, which goes a long way to help the show. And if you're listening on Spotify, or if you're already following us on social media, be sure to answer our question associated with this episode, a little bit different than part one. It's for you to tell me your dream Disney Cruise Line itinerary. Whether this will be your first cruise or you've sailed with Disney dozens of times, let me know a cruise itinerary at the top of your must-do list. Plus, if you are interested in sailing with Disney Cruise Line and you don't know where to start, or you want to make your experience even more amazing, or just want more information, definitely head to KMV Travel and Kelly's team by visiting kmvtravel.com/skyway, or reaching out to Kelly directly on Instagram at Kelly's Magical Vacations, and just let her know that Matt sent you. In addition, be sure to explore Imagination Skyway on the Patreon app or at patreon.com, where you can enjoy bonus podcast episodes, on-demand scenic audio recorded at the parks, and even more content to enjoy, as well as a private community of listeners where we host weekly watch parties, small group video calls, and lots more fun. Last, but certainly not least, remember that achieving your dreams all begins with some self-belief, a plan of action, and perhaps a bit of inspiration. It's all possible if you're willing to put in the time, the energy, and the work to make your dreams come to life. Thank you so much for riding aboard Imagination Skyway, and remember, if we can dream it, we can do it.
For us, vacation and spending time with family is very important because we both work full-time and our son has been in school and daycare full-time since he was a baby. So when we come on vacations with Disney Cruise Line, spending time together and being able to have those special moments where we watch him interact with the characters or interact with the crew members. We see how much he enjoys going into the youth activity spaces while we're able to go off and enjoy the adult-only areas. And it's just so nice to get some of that time with just the two of us because we don't typically have that outside of vacationing.
You know, Jordan loves the ice cream and chicken nuggets. Sydney loves the Disney shows. Wendy and I enjoy the dining experiences and the meals and the moments that we can steal away together. What's so great about a Disney cruise is that no matter what the age of your family members or who you're bringing along, there's something for everybody. I love it.
Disney Cruise Line is cruising for everybody. There are wonderful experiences whether you're traveling with children. If you're single, again, we definitely enjoyed Cruise Line before we had children, going to the adult areas, the wonderful activities, going to Serenity Bay here on Castaway Cay is absolutely amazing. And then when you have your family, they have the kids clubs, which is fantastic. So we have the opportunity to really enjoy everything as a family.
One of my favorite things about a Disney cruise is just the interactions with the service team. We saw a server of ours that we remember from 14 years ago, the first cruise that we all took as a family. Jordan was 4, Sydney was 6. We sure remembered him because he made that much of an impact on our family. We were so excited to see him.
My favorite thing to do on a Disney cruise is definitely the aqueduct. It's this giant roller coaster water slide and it's so amazing. Me and my dad rode it so many times and it really feels like you're going on a roller coaster.
One of my favorite parts is to see the characters in the island. We are a big Disney family and just seeing the characters in their beach attire, that's something that you cannot see anywhere. They look so cute. I love that.
We get to come together at the end of the day. There's so much fun that we have and there's memories that we're making that will last my lifetime for sure.